Steam Next Fest is coming up at the end of this month, and it's one of the biggest events for game developers, I would say in general, because it is a very clear marketing beat in terms of getting more wishlists, in terms of getting your game just out there, and it's like kind of the point where your game grows up and like gets almost ready for release. But you need a demo to participate in Steam Next Fest, and the goal of this video is just to talk about how we make demos and what I think is like the philosophy behind making good demos. We're going to be participating in Steam Next Fest as well with our incremental game, and I want to just talk to you through it a bit of like the decisions that we've made and that I think honestly you should maybe be making as well for your demo. And I think the first important thing that you need to realize is the difference between a playtest and a demo. This maybe sounds very painfully obvious, but too often I see developers who basically the first build of their game that they have is already their demo, and it's already what they submit to Steam Next Fest. And that is just not, that's just a bad move. I think more and more playtesting is becoming a bigger part of also even like your marketing meta to a certain degree, where you want to get your game out there as soon as possible. On the other hand, this has been like, I think, standard advice for 10 years, but it remains worth like repeating as much as you can, basically, of making playtests for your game. A playtest is very simple. You get people to play your game and get you feedback. And the goal here is that exact thing. It's feedback. It's getting more information about what's good about the game, what's bad about the game, and how do I make this better. You get rid of some bugs, you improve the UX, you improve the game feel, maybe you rework some of the mechanics because people don't really like them. A demo, on the other hand, is designed to sell your game, or well, at least drive hype and interest for your game. The main goal for a demo is no longer to get feedback. Yes, you will get feedback, but the main goal of a demo is to give like a taste to people of like, is this game for me, yes or no? Get them to wishlist the game and then get them to buy the game once the game releases, basically. Those are two very different goals. Getting feedback versus getting wishlists. Do not confuse them. You can do a playtest and it's also going to get you some wishlists, but the goal of a playtest shouldn't be to drive marketing. The goal of a playtest should be simply to figure out, how do I make this game better? You only do your demo once you already are very confident that, okay, this game is going to be good. This game is going to be something that people will enjoy playing. And of course, having Steam Next Fest, because there's only 3 in a year, will always kind of maybe give you a bit more pressure of like, okay, maybe I couldn't put the demo up for 2 months, or I have to like delay my game for another 3 months to join the later Next Fest, the one in June instead of the one in February, for example. But still, I think you need to have done some rounds of playtesting before you actually get the demo. The demo is a certain level of commitment, I think, that you need, where you're already like, okay, this game is really solid, it's really polished. It's not like, oh, the art is still placeholder. If you still have placeholder art, I think probably it maybe shouldn't belong in the demo, like at least not in like gross placeholder, like you know, your capsule beans and things like that, but having actual like models and all of that in your game. Don't have like, you can rework the UI, for example, but don't have like just actual like placeholder UI as well. And then, okay, we've done our playtests and we get some feedback as well of like, okay, we like this, we don't like this, whatever, doesn't really matter. And you start scoping your demo, because that's something as well of like, how much do you include in your demo? Demos, like the current Steam meta, I guess, is like demos are between 30 minutes ideally, 20-30 minutes on the low end, and then up to 2 hours, but that's already like for more like strategy games, like deeper games, are like the sweet spots. If you're making an automation game, a demo should be 2 hours long. If you're making more of a shorter scoped game, 20 minutes, 30 minutes is ideal. We'll talk about why 20-30 minutes also in a bit, but that's the kind of goal. And you then need to decide, okay, if I have a game that's normally going to take 6 hours to beat or whatever, how do I condense that experience into 20 minutes or whatever? And this is once again where we're going to talk a bit about like, okay, what's our philosophy here? I think what's more important is that you cut the systems that you can't clearly explain in the beginning. Of like, in our incremental game, there's like a whole bunch of like other mechanics and things like that we've planned, but they are kind of like more like mid-game, late-game, whatever. And it's like, yeah, we could explain all of these things up front, and we already have, honestly, in my opinion, maybe a bit too hefty of a tutorial right now, that the smarter decision is going to be to instead narrow down on, okay, what is the core of the game that we really enjoy? That's a core gameplay loop, and cut all of the like confusion levels of the game design that we have. Of like, you know, the commitment of someone is also very different if it's a demo versus if it's the full game. If they bought the full game, okay, you can take 2 extra minutes of your time to really explain the mechanic a little bit more and give them more of an idea of how does this work. Whereas if they are playing the game for at most 20 minutes, well, spending 2 4 minutes or whatever to just load even more mechanics onto them is going to overwhelm them, and they're not really going to be, you know, they don't know what to do, basically. So instead, cut ruthlessly on like the core systems, have a very clear, solid gameplay loop, but don't go out of that. That's kind of the thing as well. It's like, hey, they will get the gameplay loop and then they will be interested in, okay, what else can we do with this? We'll take a look at that in the full game, basically. Having a very like nicely defined and polished demo is going to be way better than having a demo that has maybe 10 extra mechanics, but that are all kind of still like, you know, not hyper optimized for already having a good experience, having good game feel, game design, and all of those things. And then we get to the third point, and this is kind of one that I think is more and more also an important thing, and it's also why I wanted to make this video at the start of February, when Steam Next Fest is still 3 weeks out, basically. And it is that you also need to keep your demo in mind of like, it's not just going to be played, but it's also going to be watched. Content creators are a massive part of marketing. Sure, Steam events and Steam demos are big as well, but there are simply limits to, for example, how many demos people can play. There's like 2,000 games or something in the Steam Next Fest often, and you don't have enough time in like 1 week to try out every single individual demo on the Steam Next Fest. So what you can do then is design your demo with kind of a few like content creator friendly moments in it. The easiest example for this, if you're making like horror games, for example, is to throw in some sort of a jump scare in the first 5 minutes. Yes, it's cheap maybe, but this is what needs to happen for those content creators to keep their engagement, to keep people watching, and more people watching means also more people will probably be interested in your game and will wishlist your game. It's a symbiotic relationship. The content creators, they want good content, and you want to get wishlists. You need to be able to provide them with a game that offers good content so that they can then show that content to more people, basically. And that also means like your design of like your games and whatever, maybe, I know there's some old heads in here who are like, no, I don't want to design my games to be watched, but that's just the reality we're on right now. Of like having a game that if you look at just like a screenshot or like 3 seconds of gameplay footage, you can somewhat understand what's the gameplay loop here. What are we doing here? Some genres are of course better than others at that, but I think you can always put in some effort to try and make this more clear from the start of what's the style of game that we're actually making, and making it very clear for more like casual watchers and not just players to understand what is this game and is this something that they might potentially be interested in. And that leads us to a bonus point, I guess, with content creators, because yes, you can send demos to content creators and they will often still be interested in it, but there's a kind of a little bit you want to do there, where you usually want to send them like early access. Especially now, they are going to get swamped with Steam Next Fest demo requests. That's just the name of the game, because you're not the only developer who is watching Bite Me Games and who is listening to me be like, hey, you should send out builds to content creators. There's honestly hundreds or even thousands of other people doing that. So what's important here is that you send out your demo a few weeks early if you can to content creators already, and that gives them opportunity to, for example, schedule their live streams or just pre-record their Steam Next Fest gameplay coverage and then just schedule it once Steam Next Fest starts. But they don't have to like cram in as many games during the exact week of Steam Next Fest themselves. So then you may be asking, okay, but where do I find these content creators? And that's where the sponsor of this video comes in, LetsTrack.Games. Because finding relevant creators, as someone who has done it the manual way of simply watching hours of YouTube content, is not that easy. And then also sending hundreds of emails manually takes a lot of time as well. It's kind of tiring. It's kind of, you know, you have other stuff that you want to do as well. And LetsTrack.Games, like I said, is a tool made by one of our viewers. It's a tool that I've also, like, from day one, basically, from when development started, have kind of been helping them, giving them feedback with as well. And I really believe in it and I really like it. And it allows you to find relevant content creators way easier in like a centralized dashboard. You can send emails to the content creators as well with like email campaign tools in there as well. And you can track your game's coverage. So you have the full pipeline of, I want to find content creators, I'm going to reach out to them, and I want to be notified when they actually play my game and kind of be able to see what is the impact of these content creator coverages for my own game and my own game's marketing. Like I said, we've been working with them from early on, giving them feedback, and they've recently added a bunch of cool features like using Twitch now as well to search for content creators, better email metrics, or team collaboration now. So if you're not a solo developer, it's a bit easier to work together as well on marketing your game. So don't hesitate, because the Steam Next Fest is very close, and like I said, you kind of want to send out your emails 2 or even 3 weeks in advance before the Steam Next Fest already to maximize the chance that content creators are going to cover your demo. So head down to the link down below and try it out for yourself today. So thank you once again to LetsTrack for sponsoring this video. So okay, let's dive a little bit back and actually talk about the demo, and something else that we're once again doing for our incremental games that we're going to be participating with in the Steam Next Fest is changing up the progression for the demo compared to the full game. This is kind of similar maybe to designing for streamers, but not really, also for players as well, of like, if you have a longer game, once again, you have more time that the player can kind of ease into things. But honestly, maybe this sounds a bit weird, especially in like our case, for example, an incremental game, you want to speed up the progression, you want to change things up. You don't want to start from the very, very basics of the game, where everything is still kind of slow and it's not super engaging. Start from like 30% into the game, where you already have some money, some upgrades, some extra skills if you're like doing like something with like combat, for example. Instead of just being like the first 15 minutes you only have one basic sword slash, start the player off with already like a few basic spells with some combat. Like, it feels more powerful compared to having to work your way up from the beginning. Once again, if it's a big full game, yeah, you can take your time a little bit more. But especially with these demos, you want to showcase the coolness of your game, the awesomeness of your game. Don't start your demo at the very beginning of your main game as well. Change up the pacing, make it feel faster, show them as much of the game as possible, of like the cool stuff, in as condensed of a time frame basically, and let them know why they want to play the game. Because if it's just very basic combat, it's because like level 1 warrior or whatever, that is very generic. That is not the power fantasy that players are looking for. If you show them, hey, these are the cool combat mechanics that we have in our game, and you show them from the start of the demo already, even though lore-wise maybe it doesn't make as much sense that they already have it, this is going to sell the game a lot more. You're playing into that power fantasy, and you're going to get way more engaged players who will probably enjoy your game a lot more as well. And the last big thing is, how do you end your demo? This is another big one of like, you want to end on a question, not on closure. It's kind of what I nailed it down to. Of if you're making a horror mystery game, for example, you don't want to end the demo with like the solving of the crime already, because you've just given a start to finish experience and there is no clear, you know, next step for the player, because they've already finished like the mini story. They don't have that desire to be like, okay, now I actually want more. Tell me more about this game, because you wrapped it up nicely for them and they don't have that need now. Instead, you want to like give them like a mini checkpoint almost, but still give them more intrigue, give them more clues of like, hey, you've kind of solved it, but actually turns out here's like 4 more things that you actually didn't think about before that you may want to try out in the full game. Where you tease to them, hey, you're getting close to the end, but you didn't really make it because this is where the demo ends. And once again, maybe you think like, oh, this is a dick move, I want to respect my players' time. This is how demos work, my dude. You're selling the game. You haven't sold the game yet. You need to convince them that they want to buy the game. And you do that by intriguing them, by having them want more than what you just gave to them. And that is something that, once again, takes some time maybe in terms of game design. The easy solution is just to have a very clear end of like, okay, you've beat this level, thank you very much, go and wishlist the game. But that is always going to convert less than spending a bit more time in finding, okay, what is a good point where I can kind of tease what's coming next, keep them engaged, but not really spoil the entire story, the entire ending, and all of those things. This is generally where you would also have like kind of a feature list in like certain genres of like, hey, if you enjoyed this, go and wishlist the game because it comes with 12 more levels, it comes with all of these other things. I think that's like an in-between. It's still not really the best solution, because just selling a feature list doesn't really make them want to be like, hey, I want more of this. You need that intrigue of like, hey, sure, we have a 4 times larger skill tree in the full game, but is that like, okay, am I actually intrigued enough to want to complete that entire skill tree? How you implement this exactly, once again, depends a lot on your genre. You want to just think about it at least. Like, just know that like, okay, you finished the level, thank you for playing the demo, go and wishlist it, isn't going to cut it if you want to get that conversion. And maybe like a small like final point that I do want to note as well on like Steam Next Fest, because we talked a lot about demos. Steam Next Fest is not just about demos. Yes, demos play a big part, but like I said, there are so many games and so many demos in the Steam Next Fest. There's actually a stat, Steam even shows you this at the end of the Steam Next Fest participation, where you can see how many people have downloaded the game, have downloaded the demo and played it, and how many people have wishlisted it, and then like the overlap between these two. Joining Steam Next Fest alone, even if you have a dogshit demo that does not run, will give you some wishlists, because you will still get increased visibility from the Steam algorithm. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't make a good demo. I just want to like tell you this as well, of like simply participating in Steam Next Fest will always give you more visibility. So it makes sense to not just focus on the demo, but also spend like an extra day or 2 days on maybe redoing some of the copy on your Steam store page, adding some new screenshots, doing maybe a little bit of a better trailer, because a lot of people are just also window shoppers at the end of the day. They may not have time to download the demo, but they will look at your game. They're like, hey, is this interesting? Because it does seem to be coming out soon, and wishlist it and then move on. They may never interact with your game again until it is launch day. And those are still people that you want to appeal to. You want to increase that amount of wishlist as well. So give your store page a little bit of a smuck up as well. Of course, we're going to be participating in Steam Next Fest as well in a few weeks from now. So we're going to be making a video all about like basically like the numbers and the stats and the wish list and all of that. So if that is something that you're interested in, be sure to head down below, because we talk about all of the numbers on this YouTube channel and I want to share them with you as well. I want to take you with us on this journey. So by subscribing, you'll be notified whenever we upload videos, which is twice a week, by the way. And I think there is some really great content on here, and there's a lot of great content coming up in the next month, basically. So thank you very much for watching. If you're participating in the Steam Next Fest, leave a comment down below. Also, we're going to be doing some demo playthroughs of like your guys' games, like some live streams during the Steam Next Fest. There will be a link in the description for that as well, where you can submit your Steam Next Fest demos. And I just wish you the best. I hope you get 1,000 wish lists. I hope you get 10,000 wish lists. But I think first we need to focus on having a good demo, doing our content creator outreach, sprucing up the Steam store page, and then honestly just, I don't know, hoping for the best, even though hope should not be your strategy. Part of it is still, you know, algorithms and luck based. So thank you very much for watching. Also, once again, thank you very much to LetsTrack.Games for sponsoring this video. I think they're honestly a really cool solution. We use them as well, and they're very easy to get started with. So there's a link to that once again in the description. And thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.